If I start crying, it's because I get emotional talking about my kids. I'm just saying. I'm giving you a heads up now. You were saying?
Guys, this is Hot Ones, the show with hot questions and even hotter wings. My name is Sam YG, your host, and today I am very honored to have a multimedia motoring journalist, a road safety advocate, traveler, devoted family man, none other than everybody's favorite, Mr. James Deacon. How are you, bro?
Let's not forget, friend of Sam YG.
But let's start things off with the hung chili Cajun salsa. How are you with spicy food?
I'm okay. I'm not. I wouldn't.
Yeah?
Like, I don't brag about, I can take this, I can take that. But I don't think I'm a wuss either,
Cheers, man. Hung.
So what, we just down it? Is this the rule?
Well,
you eat with me?
I will eat with you every step of the way. We're going to take this all together.
Are yours really spiked? Baka, because as the host, you want to swap now?
I don't mind. To get our palate wet,
I'm just
Your foot in the door. Bobby James, how does it feel to be dubbed as the voice of Filipino motorists? Even personally, there's somebody gago on the road. People would make sumbong to MMDA. But now, people fear you.
I take it very seriously because, you can, with that comes, and I know it's cliche, but a lot of responsibility. You gotta be very careful. And I try to do just enough. There's a balance of trying to keep people educated, keep people a little fearful, like you said, but without crossing the line of either cyberbullying, worse, getting it wrong, or also there's desensitizing people. You choose your battles, but there are some things that we should get angry about. One of them is blocking the PWD ramps and stuff. That's a pet hate of mine.
How many reclamos do you get in a day?
I had to hire somebody specifically to...
Oh, so you have may team ka na.
Only to just manage the messages, because it gets to the point where it can be thousands. If there's something that's quite big, especially...
What was the most obnoxious or the weird, craziest situation somebody complained about? Na parang, when you checked it out, totoo ba?
There was this one time that they sent, and the couple were going at it in the broad daylight, and there was a car club gathering already. So everyone was like cheering, and they could see it was pretty graphic.
Without pag ganito ba, would you repost that? Or para sa'yo medyo...
I don't, because I have kids.
Kadiri material to for me.
Yeah, I have a line that, am I okay with my kids seeing this? So there are many things, many things I don't post.
I like the fact that you don't just repost something.
That's something I'm very, very particular with. It's the responsible use of social media, because it's a tool that can be weaponized, and you don't want to do that because there's so much good that can come from it, but there's also a lot of bad.
Let's get to level 2 here. Chili Duo Habanero hot sauce. You're not even breaking a sweat.
Good chicken though.
You're making this look too easy.
We're only on number 2.
Well, let's talk about cars. Favorite car? Let's start with sports car, sedan,
You have to break it up.
SUV, and let's go with a van. So 4 categories. Start with sports car.
Money no option?
Money no option.
The 918 Spider, the Porsche, the electric, it's hybrid, that or the LaFerrari. But I haven't tried the LaFerrari, so it's.
It's like a super.
Yeah, so it's just in my head. That's for sports cars. The next one was a sedan, like a BMW 5 Series, like let's say an M5 or something like that, would be for me an ideal, perfect sedan.
Let's jump to the SUV.
It's definitely a Cayenne. I'll go for the turbo because that's the aspirational model, but I could even be happy with the diesel. If I was only gonna have one car, it would probably be something like the Cayenne, because it does everything. You have the comfort, the luxury, everything's there. This one, zero compromise.
Van.
I use the Nissan Urban Premium S. Now I use that because for me it makes a lot of sense. Because I'm looking at price, I'm looking at Philippine road conditions. If you're asking just van, like without, money's not the option, and it's not necessarily something that, I like the Alphard.
Yeah, I agree.
That's like a Learjet on wheels. Have you seen the seats?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Ottoman. Smooth.
James got to level 3. This is Shoot Me Baby.
Sinuses are clear now.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I think that's a good sign.
It's a good sign.
Especially in this rainy weather, like whatever you want to call it. Have you ever considered being part of the MMDA?
Before I answer that, is that considered a cop-out if you take a sip?
No, not at all.
It's not a lifeline or anything? So I can just casually pretend I'm just thirsty and it's got nothing to do with...
I will. There we go. Feel that better?
It's got nothing to do with this. It's just, I wondered what that... Always wondered what milk tastes like.
Sabi ko nga. MDA.
That's a very tricky question, okay? The MMDA have a particularly difficult job because they are, in many ways, the toothless tiger. I don't mean that with any disrespect, by the way. To be fair to them, they have this monumental task, but they're not given monumental powers. If you want to implement something, you've got to go and kiss 19 or 17 butts. To answer your question, no, I don't want to be part of that because of that dynamic. Until they change that dynamic, you're not really going to get anything done. In fact, you just become the poster boy for all the inefficiencies and problems. So to that, if they're watching out there, I feel for you. I think it's so easy to rant.
That's true.
That's why I'm very careful when I post something. I usually post it with a solution or a proposal and something that's actually sustainable. Where I get frustrated is when new laws are introduced without following the current ones. Let's exhaust all the other laws we have first.
Implement.
And if that doesn't work, then we start introducing new ones. Traffic is one of the most common problems that any megacity will go through. In fact, it's a given. It's like traffic is an enemy. It is a disease. It's costing us 3.5 billion pesos a day. It's affecting our life, our health, our well-being. So why don't we treat it with the same importance? Traffic is not natural. It's man-made, so it can be man-solved. You like that?
I like that. Man-made, so man-solved.
Can we just talk a little more?
Now we go to Bad Boy Tick Boy's Agimat. Let's do it. A lot of people love Bad Boy
It's a
Tick
bit
Boy.
sweet.
Yeah. Give your pal a little, break. How are you as a dad? Are you a scary dad? Are you the type to go on road trips?
If I start crying, it's because I get emotional talking about my kids. I'm just saying. I'm giving you a heads up now. You were saying?
Pretty good.
Am I a strict dad? No. Probably the opposite. If anything, I can't be there all the time, unfortunately. My job does I travel a lot. I'm away from home. So I try to be as real as possible. I give them a lot of leeway. But in return, I also expect a lot of critical thinking. Know that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This is not my rules. This is just how life is. And another thing I tell them is there's nothing that you can do or say that will make us stop loving you. That, I think, is very important because mental health, depression, these are serious issues that affect the youth. We don't know what's going on inside their heads, so I'm very, very, very nervous and scared about that. So that's it. I try to keep it real.
Next is Bad Boy Tick Boy. This one is called The White Lady.
Did they switch my 4 and 3? Because I'm not...
That's good for you. They were nice to you.
No, the 3 felt more than the 4.
4, yeah, maybe. I'll have one.
Okay.
I'd say like 70% of the guests.
I'm just watching my diet. So I'm just not eating the whole thing because of...
Keto or what was intermittent fasting?
Well, actually, I'm on intermittent fasting, IF.
How's that working for you?
You know what? It works. Aside from losing weight, which I was able to hit my ideal weight and maintain, I find it more sustainable than any other diet I've been on. I only say this because other diets, I'm always feeling deprived, totally deprived. With this one, I just make the ease for like an hour or two, max. After lunch, I feel fine.
You're good.
Yeah, they made up for it with 5.
You feeling it?
Just saying.
It's a little bit. Well, you're doing very well. You got one more.
Well, because they gave me this false sense of security with 4.
What happened with that video with Bongbong Marcos?
That was one of my, how can I explain that? There was absolutely nothing there. I talked to a lot of people. When I spoke to BBM at that time, the reason why I wanted to speak to him and do a blog is I was really fighting for ride sharing. I had hit the ceiling as far as I could go with ride sharing. Nobody was listening, and I realized that this was no longer a transport problem. This was a very political agenda. So BBM, he reached out first, and he asked me about my advocacy with ride sharing. He asked me what's it all about. So I met him once, we talked about it, and I felt he had the ear of the president, or at least somebody up there. Like I said, anyone. If it meant talking to the right person to just get to the bottom of this and just get ride sharing to happen,
You do it.
And the picture was taken. Obviously, we tried to film a vlog, and we take pictures at the end, and that picture was posted by Brandon Vera. And it was up there for 3 or 4 days. There was no problem. It was like on the 4th
When
day.
did the flack started?
On a Sunday.
Okay.
So this is when a Twitter Twitter attack happened. And it was just so clear and concise. The attack was just, it was all purely political, and I was just the fresh meat there. Brandon didn't rate a mention. June Palafox, who was also in the same car, who's an urban planner, didn't rate a mention. Nobody bothered with them. They just zeroed in on me. And they just made a big issue. So this just brought out the worst in people. And people reacted emotionally. So why?
Because of the Marcos factor.
Just because of the Marcos factor. Now, I know a lot of it was a manufactured attack and manufactured hate, but manufactured hate can create organic hate.
That's true.
And it happened. So there were people who I genuinely knew, who weren't trolls, that were offended. But eventually, it died down because there was nothing there. People knew because they were saying,
just a photo.
it was just a photo. My point is, as a journalist, I shouldn't pick and choose who I talk to. I can't just choose the people I like. Because they were saying, why him?
Of all people, yeah.
He's evil and all this. It's like, that's not my place to judge. I know I lived here during the Marcos time. I understand that. But as a journalist, I've spoken to many people that I really don't like. But if I have to speak to them, if they're going to be for the greater good, it's part of the job. Don't talk about democracy and then deny me the right to speak to anyone. That's not democracy. It goes against it. That was my point, but I realized that people are so invested in their position or their emotions that
there's the hugot from
because they wanted me to say,
or whatever.
yeah, they wanted me to say, but he's a dictator's son and all this. Like, yes, but you know, he's a free man as far as I know. I'm not defending him. He's free. He ran for vice president. So therefore, I'm free to talk to him, but I realize also that this is also another reminder that no matter how there was nothing behind it, nothing before, nothing after, because people are saying he got paid. Paid to do what? Did I post anything before or after?
You're aligning yourself with,
And there was never a post before or after about that. So because there's nothing there, they can't go any deeper. So it just died. It just died natural death.
All right, on the show, we have something called Explain the Gram. We check out your Instagram, social media. Tell us what's happening in the photo. Here we go.
Oh, God, man. I'm eating. Please.
Flashback, throwback, whatever you want to kind of back you call it.
I just landed in Manila and I had a full beard like I had now. And my wife asked me to shave. Well, I was going to go for VTRs and stuff, so I needed to shave. So I shaved and she said, just keep the bigote just for fun.
Okay.
Not realizing that Sam YG would bring up this photo 20 years later.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
This one is, this looks pretty epic here.
Okay, I remember that. That was in Palawan. I went through a phase there where there was a few haters that were really on my case. And that was my pose to just like say, you know what, this is to my haters. My heart will go on. That's my daughter. And me when I was probably 29, something like that. That's on the street outside our house.
Spending daddy time.
That's my GLI Corolla behind that parked there.
Level 6. Here we go. Last one. We also do this thing called the last dab. It is already smothered with our Hot Ones special sauce. But we're gonna add one last dab. You don't have to do it.
Oh, that's a dab, huh?
Yeah. Cheers, man.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah. When people see a foreign-looking person, especially nag-English, mayaman to, rich kid, did you ever get that impression?
Oh my gosh, yeah, all the time. I get that all the time. Privilege, white boy.
Yeah, parang James Deacon, rich kid yan. Kaya he can talk about traffic like that. Doesn't even know what commuters, go through.
What they probably don't know, and not many people know, because it's not something I really care to share, because everyone's got a story. So I mean, you don't peddle yours like you have a chip on your shoulder. You should get more or less than anyone else. But my highest educational attainment was first year high school, so I never finished that. So I had to work at 14 full time. So that was washing dishes. So I never got the college education, high school, of course, not even high school education. And then when we came back here...
This is abroad.
Yes, I was in Australia. Now, they say, well, the high school education in Australia is free, but living wasn't free. So at the time, I was with a single mom, 3 boys. My mom had just moved, and things were really, really, really tough. So it's not that we couldn't afford to study, it's just I couldn't afford to do both. At that time, the work seemed like it was money in the hand, so I just continued with that. Came back here, and I had a pregnant wife with no car, So I know what it's like to.
Which year was that?
That was 1998.
Okay.
Public transport system, I know fully well how that works. I also know how the taxis, how it was like to negotiate with taxis. So my first job was on radio, and I had a shift at 6 in the morning. It got to a stage where the salary was $8,000 a month. I had a wife and kid. There's not a lot left over with $8,000 a month.
Especially in the Philippines, and
Especially-
with a family.
Yes. So I would walk to work, and I lived in Merville, and our office was in Makati. So I would leave the house at just around 4 in the morning, just after 4, to get to the work before 6. When you say that I don't understand about what it's like to commute, yeah, I couldn't even afford to commute at one point. So I would walk every day, almost 2 hours a day. I lost 60 pounds. And I got sick because of the pollution. Couldn't even afford a bicycle back then. I went through that for 1 year and a half for the walking part. Eventually got a second-hand Mazda 323, the Familia with the wind-up
Right.
windows and the power steering, the taxi model. I had that for a good 10 years, maybe.
Here you are experiencing, getting to drive all these Ferraris, Porsches.
Yeah, but you got to give them back.
Exactly, and of course, you got to give them back. But was there any point in your life that you would have imagined that you would be able to, drive these type of vehicles, be this influential in Philippine motoring?
I always knew I had something to say because I remember in Australia, in fact, the reason I came back here to the Philippines was I had a dream of being on radio. And it wasn't for the music either. I just love to talk. I don't know if you got that idea, you got that from this, but I love to talk. But I always knew I had something to say. I just needed a bigger platform to do it. From radio, I went to magazine to newspaper to social media to TV. The most powerful currency you have is the effect you have on others. So use it wisely. And if you've been given an influence, if you've been given a voice, you owe that. You owe that to the people, you owe that to whoever you believe in and pray at night to be able to use that for good. Don't just use it for yourself. Because I've always found that you always need to be truly successful, you have to find purpose greater than yourself. I know it sounds a little corny. Some people do it with parenting, some people with charity, some people with...
To each his own.
To each his own. But it has to be higher than yourself. Otherwise, there's a little bit of emptiness.
Cameras are all rolling. They're all yours. Tell us what's going on with your life from social media, magazines.
I guess my main one is Facebook. That's where I do most of my engagement when I'm really trying to get something done. For Instagram, it's Deaconitis. A lot of people think it's Deacon It Is.
Oh,
Yeah, well, it's, I can see it.
Deacon It Is.
It's spelled like it, right?
It is, yeah.
And I didn't realize it, but Deaconitis was like a disease, because we used to joke around about that. And Twitter is at JDeacon72. I'm not that active there. I just mirror it, everything to that. But I'm pretty active on IG and Facebook.
All right, there we go. James Deacon, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this episode. This has been Hot Ones, the show with hot questions and even hotter wings. Go ahead, have that other bite. I'm going to have one with you.
Who put chili on the muffin? No, I'm kidding. Sick joke.
Thanks, man. Thanks for guessing. It was